All right, Sam, let's move on to our progressive press segment, although none of these articles are are written by any progressives or featured in progressive outlets, but we can perhaps give a progressive twist to them. So this first one, I mean, I was being all pessimistic in the previous segment about, what the future holds for us, but I think this Canadian professor is taking it a bit too far.
Too
So the
far?
yeah, so the Guardian wrote, US could be under right-wing dictator by 2030, Canadian professor warns. Canadian political scientist warns an op-ed of Trumpist threat to American democracy and possible effect on northern neighbor in Canada. The US could be under right-wing
Wait, wait, wait,
dictatorship
wait,
by
wait.
2030. Yeah.
I, isn't it already?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
No,
I
I
mean,
should be murdered for that
no.
joke. Yeah. Go ahead.
um, Sorry, 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I just had to get the door, but okay, let me continue, right? So the US could be under right-wing dictatorship by 2030, a Canadian political science professor has warned, urging his country to protect itself against the collapse of American democracy. We mustn't dismiss these possibilities just because they seem ludicrous or too horrible to imagine. In 2014, the suggestion that Donald Trump would become president would have also struck nearly everyone as absurd. But today we live in a world where the absurd regularly becomes real and the horrible commonplace. So this is one thing that really pisses me off. So quotes from him, which is that just because Donald Trump became president and fine, like people didn't think he could become, and the polling got it right to an extent and the experts got it wrong. Now, anything else you can just point to, be like, oh, you see Trump happened. Since Trump happened, you should believe like whatever crap I'm telling you. It doesn't work that way. In Canada, they tried to run a similar figure as like Trump to become prime minister. It did not
Yeah,
it
sure.
did not go far. So just because one thing happened, you can't justify everything else. But I'll just read two more paragraphs which sum up really his whole rationale behind
I thought
this.
he has, yeah, there is a,
Yeah.
go ahead, go ahead.
By
Yeah.
2025, American democracy could collapse, causing extreme domestic political instability, including widespread civil violence. By 2030, if not sooner, the country could be governed by right-wing dictatorship. The author cited eventualities centered on a Trump return to the White House in 2024, possibly including Republican-held state legislators refusing to accept a Democratic win. Just one more. Trump, he warned, will have only two objectives: vindication and vengeance of the lie that his 2020 defeat by Joe Biden was the result of electoral fraud. I mean, first of all, you don't need the Americans. The American system they've hacked the system, right? You can't be like blamed for corruption because corruption is part of the system. You don't need a dictatorship and make yourself all, how do you say it, like easy target for criticism. No, you have the Democrat and Republican is only based out of these two that someone can become a president, and it's very defined the scope of everything that they discuss. So it would even be like against your own objectives if you want for Republicans and Republican leaders to set up a dictatorship as this person predicts in the next 8 years.
I mean, first of all, it sounds like a great novel.
Yeah.
I mean, Trump comes back with a vengeance and fury. There will be war. There will be blood. So that sounds good. He should, you know, do some fictional writing. Secondly, I think it's just the whole way of framing the thing is ridiculous, as you say, and that's why it's so idiotic. Because you think like in, let's say, North Korea, the guy comes out one day and says, okay, guys, I'm the dictator now. We are changing this. Is everybody, they claim to be democratic
Yeah.
everywhere. China, North Korea, America, and all of it to a degree is true, and to a large degree probably a lie in all cases. So it's just like, it's a very idiot. What do you mean collapse into a dictatorship? What do you mean, a one-party system with Democrats being hunted down or something? Or, by the way, why necessarily dictatorship doesn't even mean collapse? Maybe a dictator will come that is, you know, like fascists in
Yeah.
Italy or something, puts the whole population to work because of the large unemployment. And that's a real dangerous possibility we have with the current, with the current impotence of the states that are supposedly the strongest states in the whole world, like US and, to a lesser extent, Europe, to a lesser extent, Russia, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's such a childish view that, there is democracy, there is dictatorship, and one day we're going to transfer and we have to be careful for the collapse. I mean, what are you talking about? Like, you have
And
to
this
be
guy is
far
a
more
political
precise.
science professor. So
I
he's
know
teaching kids this kind of shit.
Man, General McMaster is the guy we discussed last week. He teaches at like a university.
But at least they would know. He's a military guy and he's talking
yeah,
that.
It's known.
I mean, this guy, I don't know. He's just probably an academic.
Well, now you do.
Know.
I mean, you could go read his work and and now you do.
Jesus.
I know. I wonder, I only read the article. I wonder if there's a paper he has written. Maybe there is some evidence.
He wrote an op-ed. I highly.
Op-ed? Okay.
No, I mean, some of these things you can't find like evidence. It's like saying like read the Bible and then you'll believe. Like there's no book. Like books don't have that power.
No,
like,
but a rational.
Yeah.
No, but a rational, like as in how it would go about or
like,
something.
Like a drawing. Okay, Trump is here. Okay, it's you put an arrow. Rationale. People are reasonable. +2.
Not anymore.
Becomes danger.
Because as you read the rationale was like by 2024 it could collapse. Well, that's one guess, I guess. That's one. Like how exactly? What's going on anyway?
And it all centers around Trump. If Trump doesn't come, it's all good.
It's all good. There is no potential. Nobody else likes to become a dictator at all.
Man, if everything was around us, and I love how we saw a Trump presidency.
Yeah,
I don't know. Was anything
different?
Was anything different? I mean, someone refresh my memory. Maybe I've forgotten.
No, to be honest, since Biden has been so bad on immigration and stuff, I was gonna say maybe on immigration issues, but he's been pretty same. But it's just but Trump had opportunities to become a dictator, and he doesn't want to do this. He barely was. He was barely a president. He was on Twitter watching TV all the time.
Yeah,
you need some some effort.
And others wouldn't want this. I mean, if I was a Republican with a lot of power, their current system is much smarter. Their current system it's much more like egos, bulletproof. Man.
I agree, but there's sometimes you get big egos. The DeSantis guy, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, it's so ridiculous, the whole argument of the guy hinging Trump as like the one guy or it's. But it was very worrisome. As you famously once said, democracy needs to bulk up.
It's always under threat, huh?
Yeah. This poor kid always under threat.
There's never a day when democracy is not under threat.
You need to go to jiu-jitsu classes. Self-defense.